why. I don't know, it just sounds cool. So
I was going to try that, but I failed.
yeah, see, now you're being dangerous. I mean, I'm the one who's like taking out a shotgun, pointing it at my foot, being like, let's go to the root directory and change permissions. So, yeah, that one's on me. But what do these three things correspond to? For those of you who got a chance to look it up. We have an owner, a group, and the world. Anybody else? Who's the owner of USR right now? Yeah, that's what this is right here. Root is the owner of USR. Who is root? The master user. Who is the master user? How do we find him? How do we talk to him?
It's the Wizard of Oz.
It's like a Wizard of Oz Matrix analogy somewhere you can put in here, but how do you get to be the root? Right now, if I were to go to, and I'll open up another window with Command T, I'm going to go right here, if I know how to use the terminal, and I'm just going to look for desktop. Who is the owner of desktop?
You.
Yeah, that's me. But the owner of USR is root. So I know who eShopik is, I feel good about that, but how do I get to be root, and why does root exist? Okay.
Admin user.
So you need to be, or you need to be the admin or root user to access this, which is why when I do something like touch person.txt, it tells me permission denied. I do not have permission as, who am I right now? Have you ever run this command? Well, why don't you run it and press enter? If it says eShopik, we have a serious problem, so you should not see that. And if so, then give me my laptop back.
That's what you named your laptop.
Yeah.
It's who the user is under.
It's who the user is. So eShopik is trying to make a file called person.txt, but who is the only person who can make a file person.txt?
The root.
The root. How do we be the root?
Sudo bash.
That is the command called sudo. Super user do. Sudo, sudo, potato, potato. There's some sysadmin out there who would kill me right now, but you can call it whatever you'd like. If you want to run a command as the admin or as root, you use the sudo command. This is not something that is recommended. Why? Why do you think it's kind of a yellow flag if someone says, oh, just sudo something?
Really, that's something that if you do the wrong thing.
Yeah, you can really, really mess stuff up if you do the wrong thing. I'm just like, hey, you know what? Let's get rid of this user file.
Could it potentially show or demonstrate that they also don't really have mastery over certain commands?
Very much so. Yeah, absolutely. If I just say, hey, everybody type this in and press enter, I'm just leading the sheep. Except I'm not hurting you. I'm taking you to a cliff, and I'm just saying, like, off you go. You don't want to do things like this because you can very easily remove files and folders that are essential to your machine. Now, when you run a command as sudo, it prompts you for your password. That's kind of your terminal's like last plea of saying, you really know what you're doing right now? Which is why we don't mess around with things in the root directory. If we want to start working with files and folders, we want to start right over here in the home directory. There is a gap between the home directory and the root directory. If I look at my working directory, there's a folder called users. If you have multiple users on your machine, most of you will have something called shared. If you look at my users folder, I have something called film, so if I'm doing screencasts, I have a totally separate account so that I don't have all this clutter on my desktop. There's a guest one. So in order to go from the root to some home directory, you got to basically specify which home you're dealing with. So I'm going to go into eShopik. I really don't want to type eShopik, so how can I do this a little bit faster? Tab, good. CD eShopik. All right, quick recap. What have we been doing for the past half an hour? You installed this thing called ohmyzsh, gives us a lot of functionality for our shell, which we're going to be using, called zsh. The shell is a nice wrapper for all the commands that we're going to use. Zsh gives us a whole bunch of nice aliases or shortcuts for some longer commands. It gives us a nice little highlighting, especially when we're using things like git. We'll see that in a second. We saw the ls command, just to list some files and folders, but we saw that doesn't really do enough for us sometimes. If we want to see hidden files, we add the a flag. we want to see more detail about our files, we add the L flag. These could be in any order that you like. And we also saw a little bit on the basic permissions that we've seen. Read, write, and execute for the owner of the group and everyone else. We've seen that some files and folders are given the ownership of us or the user. Some are given an ownership of the root or the admin. In order to run things as the admin, we need to use the sudo command. This is not something I recommend doing. If you're doing it, just be really careful that you understand why you are doing it. This right here is called the group as well. You may run into other permission issues for what group can run certain commands. Cool. Any questions so far? Yeah.
When you use the, what was it, Control L to kind of still be able to see your history, how did you scroll up again? When I go up, I'm getting my other commands.
So on the trackpad, I'm just scrolling up that way. You can also bring your mouse over and you'll see a little ledger right there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can try it that way.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Cool. So we're moving pretty quickly. If there's anything that I'm going through and you're just like, no, please stop me. I'm moving a lot faster than you in the terminal. Why is that?
Did you know more than us?
Yes, because I know more than you. Why are you here?
To learn.
Yes, cool. So let's learn something. The reason why I'm moving quickly in the terminal is because I know some keyboard shortcuts. That's really it.